All right, it's 6 p.m. With our new daylight savings time. Hopefully everyone's getting used to the time change. So we will get started. So hello and welcome. My name is Jessica Barbier, and I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Swire Coca-Cola. Before we start, we truly just want to say thanks to everyone. We truly appreciate your patience as we work on backfilling the central director position, who will be leading this work stream and these meetings going forward. But in the meantime, it's really great to have an opportunity for all of us at Swire to get to meet you. So before we jump into the agenda, just wanted to go over a couple housekeeping. For those of you that are just joining, this meeting will be recorded, so just want to let you know about that. Translation services will be provided virtually tonight by Gisela from the Community Language Cooperative, and the meeting will be recorded and shared with this group afterwards. Please keep your phones muted, and we will have time for Q&A at the end of the meeting. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I'm going to pass it over to Grandin to start us off with the agenda. Grandin?
Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can. Good evening.
All right. So just jumping in here. So we've got the intent of the meeting this afternoon is to really kind of walk through what we have done as far as MWBE outreach. So that will take the bulk of the time this evening. We have partnerships with a couple of local companies, and you'll be able to meet them as part of this meeting this evening. So we'll get introductions from the team here. We'll talk about the MWBE outreach that Whiting Turner and Hickson has done. Sorry about that. So we'll get an overview of the MWBE outreach. I will provide an update for where we are at with the project and just kind of the roadmap that we're following over the next several months and through the rest of the year. And then Jessica will provide, let me back up. We'll turn it over to Elise to kind of talk through the permitting process and just the approvals and next steps. And then we'll get a quick update from Jessica on the STEM outreach program overview, and just the conversations that have been going back and forth with the community groups on getting some STEM involvement in the local schools. And then we'll open it up for establishing the next meeting. Based off of previous conversations, the next meeting is anticipated to cover traffic with an emphasis of kind of pulling together local community groups to talk about what are being done, between Dr. Coggs and Commerce City and Denver, and just kind of pulling all the groups together to have a kind of conversation. That will be an in-person meeting. So we are looking at likely June, but we'll talk through what weeks, what times, what dates work best for everyone. And then we'll open it up for outstanding questions. If there are questions as we're going along, feel free to interrupt. With it being on Teams, it's a little bit more challenging to host questions one-off. And so if you're able to hold those questions to the end, that's great, but we certainly don't want to prevent questions from being asked. So feel free to interrupt as well. With that, I will turn it over to Zoette with Hickson to kind of walk through our introductions.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Can someone confirm you can see me and you can hear me good?
Yes, ma'am.
I can see and hear.
Perfect. Thank you. I know it's it's 6 o'clock, 5 p.m. So I know it's a late meeting. So thank you for joining today. I'm Zoette. Like Brandon said, I work for Hickson. Hickson is part of the design build team within my organization. I'm part of the project management group. And today I have the pleasure to introduce you to the MWBE firms. Before I go to that, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about how we engage our MWBE firms. We knew at the beginning of the project, engaging with the community was important. Getting MWBE firms was also really important, not only because their uniqueness, but also because they have really good local expertise. So we went through a series of different interviews, getting scope for structural fire protection. We went through interviews with different companies, and right now we selected our final consultants, MWB consultants. The first one is Integral Engineering. They will be doing the structural scope. TLH Engineering, they will be doing the fire protection scope. Group 14, they will be providing consulting services for the lead and Energy Co, which is going to be really important for this project. Best Engineering, they are the geotech. And then Iron Horse Architect, we did some consulting with them at the beginning. Under the site scope, we have landscaping and surveying. We still don't have those named yet, but it's something that we also want to provide opportunity for the MWBE consulting group. Without further ado, I will introduce Lacey. She is from Integral Engineering. She will be going through a little bit of her introduction, explaining her company. I'm sorry.
That's it. Nope, that's
Tammy,
good.
we can start with you.
Want to start with Tammy?
We're going to be a little bit out of order, but that's okay. Lacey, if you want to go ahead and do an
Lacey,
introduction,
go
that'd be
ahead.
great.
You bet. We're flexible. We can handle this. So Integral Engineering is a full service structural engineering firm that I started in 2008. We are a certified woman-owned business with the city and county of Denver. We've completed work in over 9 states, and we're located in Centennial, so not too far. And we pride ourselves on keeping the project on time with no structurally related delays. And if you could go to the next slide. We value ourselves in trust and the trust that our clients demonstrated in us. Structural engineering is delicate work in terms of every time the wind blows, we save lives. And I think people don't recognize that what an important role structural engineering is in a project. We are determined to respect each other. We build relationships via respect. We like to produce excellent work, and we also like to try and keep it fun, because you know what? It's a high stress job, and if you can't have fun doing it, you're going to burn out. So next slide. We've worked on many projects in the Denver metro area, some of them very iconic, including Denver International Airport that we're working on, the Great Hall expansion, and some concourse work. We had a lot of work out at the National Western Center. We are the engineer of record for the Stockyard Event Center. So if you go to the stock show in January, you'll most likely be in one of our buildings. We worked on the Denver Public Library, the Colorado Convention Center with its ginormous new ballroom, the largest ballroom west of the Mississippi. And we've also worked at the Colorado Springs Airport. I think that's it for our slides, but I would really like to say that we are super excited to be working with this team, with Swire Coca-Cola, of course, and also with the Hickson team out of Cincinnati. And I think we're going to end up with a project that Denver can be proud of.
Thank you, Lacey. One thing I forgot to mention, one of the slides was showing a 20%. We're committed here to the fees for the project, for the design portion, we're committed to 20%. So I just wanted to mention that. Next, I think we can go with Tammy, TLH Fire. They're going to be providing the fire protection scope.
There we go. Good evening. I'm Tammy Holly, and our company is TLH Fire. We started business in 1999, and we understand the permitting process in Denver is especially challenging. And we're honored that we have an established relationship with Denver Fire, with multiple projects that we also have worked on. And we relentlessly go after positive outcomes, especially when it comes to completing the project on time. Fire protection and fire alarm is always the last thing. You can turn the water on and you can turn the alarms on, and they're the last thing that goes through permitting. And having somebody that knows Denver, it's just such an honor that we've been chosen by Swire and Hickson. So thank you to you guys. We've done, our specialty tends to be a lot of schools and a lot of healthcare, but we certainly have done processing, and excited to be on this project as well. Next slide, please. It's just a quick team. This is all of us. There's 6 of us. We are committed to the project and to a successful outcome. And one of the things that I would say that's challenging whenever there are 6 people in the company is just having the resources to put together complex requests for proposals. So again, thanks to Hickson and Whiting Turner and to Swire Cola for working with us. And then I would like to segue to my next slide, where we were able to team with Kaufman, and that's Julie Brown and Jess Costers. They have been wonderful colleagues to work with on the suppression side. And then they have some resources that we've been able to tap in as a small firm that we're very grateful for.
Thank you, Tammy. Last presentation we have today is for Group 14, Laura. She will be going through Group 14. They're going to provide lead and energy co-consulting.
Hey there. Yeah, so I'm with Group 14, a lot of familiar people on this call that we've worked on lots of projects with. So we will help navigate all of the energy code, which is a little tricky between Green Building Ordinance, Denver Green Code, and all of the different options that are out there. And then also with the LEED certification, if that's what we choose to meet Green Building Ordinance, and then just overall general best practice sustainability. We're also doing the commissioning for this project, both for IECC or Denver Energy Code requirements and for LEED. And we've been around for 30 years. We have 63 people now-ish, and we're excited to be working on this project.
Thank you, Laura. That's it for the presentation today, introducing the NWB Consulting team. They're really valuable, and we're really excited to be working with them. Back to you, Brandon.
Thanks, Zoet. So there are a couple of more slides here. I think, Zoet, you kind of touched on a portion of this, but I'll turn it over to Mark. Mark, if you want to kind of talk through the process that Whiting Turner has gone through with Hickson.
Yeah, Brandon, thanks. Hopefully everybody can hear me well. And video is on my computer and sound is on my phone. So so the first step we did was to develop our equity, diversity, and inclusion plan. We drafted that. We submitted that to DISBO and DEN, and together with DISBO and DEN, Whiting Turner, Hickson, and Kimley Horn, we developed that plan and got it to approval. So that was kind of a sort of a great partnership. Felt like a lot of collaboration. There were some back and forth things that we did, and I think we have a solid EDI plan in place now. And then we embarked on some initial outreach events. We used, sort of word of mouth to try to reach out to different minority-owned or women-owned design firms. Sat down, had face-to-face meetings with those firms, and then we also sort of stepped up our approach by getting the list of certified vendors from the City of Denver website. We went through the entire list of certified firms, and any firm that sounded like a design firm, we reached out to them via email, and then invited them to additional outreach events. So we cast a broad net, and we also cast a smaller net and had some more targeted efforts. Next slide, please. So then working, Hickson and Whiting Turner together worked to develop a very detailed RFP. And I think it was in particular Chris Jark and Jack Burns did a really good job developing that RFP, defining the work that was to be done to make it clear, so that we didn't want any ambiguity on what was required, what the scope was. We went through a bid process, and what was good about that is that, when you put an RFP out, it's never perfect for everybody, and Hickson exhibited a lot of flexibility to work with the different design firms to get us proposals in and maintain a competitive process. Then after we got the numbers in, we reviewed the numbers, we sat down again, had a round of face-to-face meetings with the different design firms, and got to know them, got to know understand their capabilities better, and made an intelligent award on each one of these scopes. And we're very excited to have Integral, TLH, and Group 14 on board as part of our team. And it doesn't stop there, getting the awards done. So we've gone through an onboarding process with some of the firms. Actually, it's quite nice to see TLH and Integral out in Ohio for a kickoff meeting with Hickson and the rest of the design team and the owner team, and Whiting Turner's team. So I think we're starting off on a constructive relationship, not to use a pun there. And then we'll continue management and mentoring throughout the process as required by each firm. And I'm excited to see the kind of relationship that's being developed between Hickson and our design partners here locally. I can go through the upcoming process, Grandin.
Yep.
So as with design, we will sort of repeat that process for construction trade partners. We'll probably start our outreach in May of this year. Again, a bid process, pre-award meetings, making intelligent awards, and then repeating that onboarding process. And, we will sort of continue the management and mentoring as required by each firm. Our goal is to not just hire MWBE firms, but make them successful partners in this project. That's what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Mark. So just wanted to take a pause right there. That is the update on where we're at with the design outreach as far as MWBE. Obviously, like Mark said, it doesn't stop there as we continue into the construction phases, which will really pick up in 2025. Obviously, the MWBE outreach will continue to be a big focus, but I did want to pause there and see if there were any questions or comments from the group, or any feedback before we continue into a project update.
So this is Khadijah, and you can expect that I'm going to have a comment. I think it's wonderful, the groups that you have, and I feel really good that you've hit some WBE, but I don't see the M, and that's what I'm going to be looking for, as are all of your partners in the adjacent communities around. So I would have you keep your eye on that, because I am.
Absolutely. Thank you, Khadijah. All right, so jumping into project update. The last time we met was in November, so there's not wholesale changes. that have happened since then, but just wanted to kind of lay out the roadmap where we've been and where we're going. So in the last quarter of 2023, we achieved a partial board approval. So we submitted to our board the full plan, and as part of that, the project was not approved at the full build out. We were approved to continue design, and we're encouraged to reduce the scope a portion. So the next slide, I will talk about the reduction of scope. In the first quarter of this year, we started our MWBE partnership that really put us in a position to continue the design. And like Mark mentioned, in February of this year, we had our formal design kickoff. For the months leading up to that, there was a lot of programming talks, a lot of discussions about kind of preliminary schematic design of the building. But with our MWB partners on board, we were able to really do a formal design kickoff and plan the design throughout the year for 2024. So as part of that, we did what we call a pool planning, where we were allocating assets and making sure that design timeframes were going to be met, trying to work around everyone's schedules and identifying the critical path for the design scope. We just recently had our pre-concept review meeting with the City of Denver and DEN, and so we have formally kind of started that design review process both with DEN and the city. Right now we are in the project programming phase, where we're meeting with the design team to talk through what our labs look like and what our office space looks like and the needs for our warehouse, right? So we're now getting into the nitty-gritty of the design. And so that's right in the middle of the page is where we're at right now. And our anticipation is that our schematic design should be wrapping up in April. As part of that April design completion, there will be a pricing exercise. And so as we look at MWBE engagement, there's an opportunity there to reach out and to get some of those MWBE firms involved in the bidding process. From there, we'll continue into the design development, which takes the design just a little bit further. And then ultimately, we're trying to achieve full board approval late this year in 2024. Kind of concurrently with that board approval process, we'll be developing construction documents and going through the permitting process with the city. So right now, all of those things lead up to groundbreaking in January. Not necessarily January. I think that kind of depends on the permitting, but the first quarter of 2025. I would love for it to be January, but I don't know, sitting where I am today, if I've got that level of assurance. So we'll say quarter one of 2025, we're targeting the groundbreaking. So as I indicated before, we do have a reduction in overall scope of this project. So this is the current site plan, and you'll see the building was originally, the project originally consisted of 4 buildings, which added up to 1.1 million square feet. We have eliminated the outbuildings as part of this scope, and those outbuildings were a sales building, a fleet building, and a building where we would repair and ship out vending machines, coolers, and fountain machines. And we call that our equipment fulfillment center. So as part of trying to be good stewards of capital and addressing the needs of the business, as part of that board approval process, they asked us to reduce the scope of the building and eliminate the 3 outbuildings. And we've also reduced some of the square footage of the warehouse. And so where the original plan was a consolidation of several business functions, this is a replacement of our York Street facility only. And so with that, there's a reduction in truck traffic, employee trips, which should impact the traffic in a positive way. When we look at our traffic study, we are still planning to base that traffic study off of a full build out. We don't want to get in a situation where we are underestimating our impact on the community, and so we are continuing to keep those counts elevated despite a significant, it's approximately 40% reduction in scope, and a significant reduction in the amount of traffic and employees on the site. And so this is where our site plan is at right now. So there's the production portion of the building is on the west side with warehouse space built out to the east. And obviously we've got open space to the east to support future expansion when that time comes. There's not immediate understanding or an immediate time frame for when that expansion might take place, but we are certainly working and trying to position ourselves to support future growth and future operations. And so that is that's the update on where we're at. And with that, I'll pass it over to Elise if you want to kind of talk through the review process.
Absolutely, happy to. Click to the next slide. That'll help keep me on track. Thank you very much. As Grandin mentioned, we're very happy to be in concept review right now. A development at the airport in Denver has a unique zoning code that doesn't have the same regulations that other zoning codes do. Our land use is at the discretion of the manager of aviation. We don't have prescriptions for setbacks. We don't have prescriptions for parking and other kind of site organization elements that you would typically see in different zoning codes. So we have agreed with Downtown Denver that we will take our site development plans for concept review if they are adjacent to city right-of-way, if they are roads maintained by Dottie, if it's west of E470, or if it's part of Pena Station Next. So Swire fits that description in a couple different ways, and we are very happy to have Downtown help us with such a big project and give us that first review, get all that feedback from the fire department, the planning department, Dottie, to set this project up for success. After concept review, the airport becomes stewards of all that feedback on the site development plan. So the site plan, the engineering review comes internal to the airport after the conceptual review. We also have a layer of an FAA review looking at heights, and our planning department will help Swire with that. All those three components can run concurrently. We'll still probably rely a lot on our downtown partners for coordination. Ultimately, the airport issues what we call a letter of authorization. We issue that for the project to bring their building to the building department, which is again back downtown. So the building permit goes through downtown, the engineering permits, SUDP, those all go through standard processes, but the airport reviews them first in terms of how they're laid out on the site, what their capacity is, and how they're going to work with our larger airport systems.
And moving on from there, Jessica, do you want to talk about where we're at with the STEM outreach?
Sure. All right, so since December, this wonderful group has been meeting monthly. So we've been working really closely with Montbello Organizing Committee and Green Valley Ranch. So I just put the proposal up on the screen again, just to reshare with everybody. But the proposal for this program is to develop or integrate a program in Green Valley Ranch and Montbello communities, targeting middle and high school students, exposing and connecting them with resources they need to pursue education and careers in engineering and or STEM. We really want to build a network here, connective tissue for students in these communities that are interested in STEM and engineering, but might not have been exposed yet, and helping them pursue education and career goals. So just wanted to share a quick update. So we have met in December, and then we had a meeting in January and February. And what we have decided to do is there's so many great community programs and partners in place. So instead of recreating the wheel, we've been doing a lot of exploration and evaluation with some of these existing programs that really focus on STEM, college and career readiness, and looking at opportunities where we can either lift and shift or expose these programs to some of the communities that might not have access at the moment. So the next steps in this process is inviting some of these nonprofit partners that we have evaluated as a team to come in to our monthly meetings and having a Q&A. So what we started with for next meeting, which has been moved to April 18th to work with the DSST team, is to come. They'll present about some of their great engineering and STEM programs and looking at opportunities where, again, we might be able to lift and shift or expose some of these schools and communities to these programs. So our organizing group will have the opportunity to learn about the programs, have some Q&A, and then we plan on reaching out to Junior Achievement and Girls Inc. to do the same. So after the 3 partnership meetings and Q&A, we'll figure out the opportunities that best fit, and then working on that pilot. The timeline is for a launch in fall of 2023 and, 2024. We're already 3 months in. So what we want to do is pilot, look at some of the metrics, some of the goals that we want to do, and then have that opportunity to scale. So we're moving in the right direction. Again, we are working on backfilling the central director position, but I have stepped in over the past couple of months to make sure that this conversation is moving in the right direction. This is really important to us, and actually it's a really exciting opportunity, and so there's a lot of momentum behind it. And we look forward to reporting back on how these partnership meetings go over the next several months. And that's all we have to update on that. I think we have a question.
Yes. So Jessica, Girls Inc. and Junior Achievement are not entities that we are familiar with in our community. How did those entities get selected? We work quite a bit with DSST, but I mean, I'm familiar with both of those entities, but they are not familiar to the community, and as far as I know, don't have great presence in this community.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the issue in Roadblock, is that they have such great programs, but the exposure is not there. And so we're looking at evaluating ways like, what are the barriers to getting these programs into these communities? Is it transportation? Is it opportunities where we can have a digital presence like this to engage with more students? So what we're kind of doing at this moment is having the questions of like, why are Girls Inc. and Junior Achievement not currently in these communities? Figuring out what those challenges and roadblocks are, and then seeing if we can provide that solution. But DSST is the one that really seems like they're doing some really great work. And so if there's opportunities to get this programming and scale it and collaborate among other schools, that's probably the first option we're going with. And then the second is just to have conversations with Girls Inc. and Junior Achievement. So these are the first 3, but we're also open to other nonprofits. So if there are other groups that are doing it well, we would love to hear those recommendations.
Great. I will provide you with a couple of suggestions. And the reasons those entities don't work here is because they don't have Black and brown people on staff, and they have not had a good record integrating and working with constituencies and communities of color. That nobody minds, helping people get on the path, but they have not been on the path. So as long as you understand that that may not be met with great warm, warm buttered rolls from the community, but certainly DSST is a partner that has a long-standing relationship with the Black and Brown communities in this part of the city.
Yeah, and it sounds like they have really robust programs that are exactly in line with the proposal and goals of this program. So we're really excited for this meeting, April 18th. One of the other nonprofits I had recommended in our meeting on February 22nd was the Urban League. Nationally, they have this program called Project Ready STEM, and it's focused exactly on what we're looking at here with doing STEM and engineering program for high school age youth. But a couple of folks in the organizing committee had mentioned that the Urban League locally in Colorado is kind of in a regrowth mode. But that's another one that I'm interested in exploring and seeing if that national partnership can bring programs locally.
It is in a state of growing, but the Urban League Young Professionals led by Dr. Ryan Ross is off to a great start. Jessica, why don't you reach out to me afterwards and let me connect you? It is a fabulous Black engineering program that has been around for more than 20 years, doing excellent work. There is another great program that is being done by the Latino community on the west side. So I'm happy to have a one-on-one with you, and let's make sure that we are working with partners that know how to work with us.
Perfect. Yeah, pop your email into the chat box if you want, and I'll send you an email after this meeting. But yeah, that's exactly the feedback we got, is the Young Professionals group is the way to go in the Urban League in Colorado. So thanks so much for that, and I'll send you an email. I appreciate your feedback.
All right. Are there any other questions? Let me check the chat. The next item that we have is to just talk through future meetings. So I mentioned that the anticipated meeting for the next quarter when we meet again is to discuss traffic in the community, right? So we've heard a little bit about things that Dr. Cogs is looking at and Dottie's looking at. And I think what we heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what we heard was we want to create a platform to get the different groups and entities together and just trying to collaborate on all the different things that are taking place. And so I think there's two questions that I want to ask. The first question is, who needs to be participating in that group? And the second question is, when do we want to try and have that meeting take place? I am anticipating, just from, in order to have time to reach out and make sure that we have good participation in that meeting, I would suggest that we shoot for June sometime. And then the groups that I've heard talked about were Adams County, Commerce City, Dr. Cogs, Dottie, DIN, and the E470 board. Are there other community organizations, jurisdictions, municipalities that need to be involved in that conversation?
There certainly are, but I'd be happy to have somebody else pipe in first. I think I saw Lisa come off mute.
Yep. Hi, Grandin. It's Lisa Huff with the Adams County Regional Economic Partnership.
Yep.
We definitely need to follow up, and we'd love to be part of that conversation. I would also suggest that Smart Commute, which covers commuting solutions for our region, would like to be part of that conversation or meeting as well. And I could send you Carson's information.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So, Grandin, you've only named governmental and quasi-governmental organizations that won't fly with community. So you will need to get the plan out and let those of us who work in the community hear work with you to get attendance. There are a ton of community organizations for all the way from Montbello through Parkfield and into Green Valley Ranch, and they will want to definitely be included. We have the Green Valley Ranch Homeowners Association and a lot of active participants there. There are just so many groups, and I would caution you not to put that list out because you'll piss the community off, because all that is a bunch of government folks which the community already doesn't trust with traffic. So if you want to have a secret meeting with those guys separate from the community, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to have community involved, I would not have it face forward with government and quasi-governmental entities. The last thing to say to you, that if you are planning on a June meeting, please don't make the mistake that you made last month. That is Juneteenth. And it is a week-long important celebration in the Black community. So you will want to schedule around that. And we also, most of the schools release in that first week of June. So we want to avoid that if we can, to have parents have the maximum ability to join in with their groups. We also have a couple of very influential and highly active RNOs out here that you will want to make sure that they are involved. And even though they are quasi-governmental entities themselves, they are met with welcome arms in the community.
Okay, and thank you for that, Khadijah. Certainly, that is exactly the reason we asked the question. We certainly want community engagement, right? So that's appreciate that feedback, and I'll circle back with you on an email and make sure that we're trying to identify those organizations and figure out the best way to engage with them. You mentioned R&Os, and I'm not familiar with that acronym.
Oh, you aren't missing anything, love. It means Registered Neighborhood Organization. And in our neck of the woods, they are really well recognized. Montbello 2020 is particularly influential and recognized, and I see that someone from that organization is in the call. I'm hoping that it is Miss Ann White. So I am happy to be a bridge, but not a gatekeeper in getting you to those folks. Reach out to me, and I'm happy to make those connections, and you can take it from there.
All right. Okay. I appreciate that feedback. That's very helpful. Any other comments or questions? That's our next slide.
I would leave you with this last thought, that transportation will be a hot topic, but we will want to have a continual update on the M side of the MWBE process. So you should put that on as an ongoing topic for every meeting.
Thank you. I'm making some notes as I'm going, and I'm terrible at doing two things at once. So I appreciate that feedback. As far as MWBE outreach, I don't know that we're going to have a whole lot of updates just as we're going through the design process. As we start that outreach for the construction piece, that will certainly become more elevated. So we'll continue to touch on that as we go. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the group? All right. I'm looking at the comments in the chat. I appreciate the the recommendations. So we'll take some notes. We've got this meeting has been recorded, so I believe that will be posted along with the slide deck that we've shared, and look forward to circulating a couple of dates for the meeting in June. And we'll work with the group here to make sure we're identifying the right groups to be a part of that and participating in that conversation, and look forward to that. So thank you everyone for your participation this evening.